I took the long road to, finally coming to the conclusion that I needed to, to just paint because, I didn't hail from a family of artists. This was a really daunting prospect that seemed about as irresponsible as it can get. So I thought, I would try these things that were, commercial arts, things adjacent. I did some sign painting, primarily for my father and the family business. I grew up in an old neighborhood in Youngstown, Ohio. In the city, there's a lot of density. There's the age of the homes, the age of the street. Everything had a texture. I watched sign painters paint signs on these walls, and think about the relationship of that graphic quality against the history of the building. The takeaway was, appreciating the use of tape and working with a more exacting hand to cut a curve, define a character. So that was the residual. This very much looks like the way this painting looked in earlier stages. So just today, I've isolated these shapes. Masking has been a through line since my graduate studies. I came of age in my studies seeing work by Al Held and deeply admiring it. The illusionistic qualities, the color, it seemed like it wasn't touched by a human hand. I think that I found it difficult to work in a detached clinical manner. I mean, I had all the respect for it, but I like chance and accident too. Like I might put this piece of foam board that's got some tape on it, like down here, and then, put another one next to it. And then if I could, tape or hold these in place and then just drag a heavy amount of material between the two strips. Texture is that balance to the graphic qualities that I also embrace, and I feel like to an extent it has to accumulate. I don't like coming by it too quickly. I have a collection of some things that are from my mother's kindergarten classroom that have a really wonderful worn patina. And you can only accumulate that from, years of interaction, with students in the classroom. This is a print that was in my home growing up. It's been a reconciliation for me to acknowledge, like the environment I came up in and the experiences that I had and the messiness and the complexity of it. Maybe to sustain abstraction as a practice, I need to be able to bring some of my life in. I had to use that in some way. I've never made this work to not share it. In the museum, that just opens up to an even larger public audience. To know that it's going to be part of their daily experience, it's very humbling to me, because I know how much the prints that were in my home growing up impressioned me. I'm hoping that it's not a quick read. Looking at painting is not a passive, kind of viewing experience. I think you have to revisit pieces. And so I'm hoping that, that level of engagement will be fostered by this for the long term.